everyone, this video is about the IELTS speaking test, and I will let you know how I scored 8 bands in the IELTS speaking test, what types of questions I got and how I answered them. I have also included some sample answers to the questions, and then I have also included some tips for the test takers. So first we can talk about the parts of speaking test. There are 3 parts of speaking test. In the first part, the examiner will ask you questions about yourself, your family, your interests. In the second part, he or she will ask you some general questions, but they will be about some topic. For example, in my case, she asked me about mirrors. So apparently it's a very simple topic, and she asked me, do you have a mirror? Do you like mirrors? So I answered it in a couple of sentences like, yes, I do have a mirror. I like mirrors because I can see myself in the mirror. I have a round mirror which is in my purse right now, and I always keep it with me. It is like golden and silver, both colors, and then there are 2 sides of the mirror. And I like it quite a lot because it was given to me by one of my friends. So you can give this kind of answer. So the next question she asked me was about traveling and vacation. So she asked me questions like, do you like to travel? How many cities or countries have you been so far? For this kind of questions, you can answer from your own experience. If you have been to a place, a picnic resort, or even if you have been to another country, another city, you can tell her your own experience of your visit. But when it comes to the third part of the IELTS speaking test, it is a more specific question-answer session. You need to have some ideas or information about the topic you are being asked about. For example, if the examiner asks you about tourism or the impacts of tourism, then you should have some knowledge about tourism, right? You cannot just answer from your own experience. You need to have some information and some knowledge about tourism. So if you are preparing for IELTS speaking test, then just pick a lot of topics and then get information and ideas on those topics in order to give right answers to the questions in part 3 of IELTS speaking exam. Basically, what the examiner is looking for is that if you can answer a question with grammatical accuracy and fluency, and you're able to use a variety of vocabulary in your answers. So this is the main thing the examiner is looking for, and the maximum time you're given for this test is 15 minutes. Basically, in the first 5 minutes, the examiner will ask for your identification, your full name, and some more general questions about your family, your friends, your hobbies. They're really simple questions just to give you a start. Afterwards, the examiner will ask you some more specific questions, but they will be about your favorite personality, hometown, study routine, computer, arts, etc. So these are some of the popular topics. When I took my test, the examiner asked me about some general topics like mirrors, travel, vacation, tourism. So all of my conversation with the examiner was around these topics. And if I talk about my responses, I had prepared those responses beforehand. I had covered this topic, vacation and tourism, and I had some good information about tourism, so I was able to answer well in my exam. Having said that, it is very much recommended that you also prepare the topics for IELTS speaking exam. If you are well prepared, then you have great chances of being successful in the exam. Now here is the list of questions about traveling and tourism. So the first question is, do you like to travel? Where was the last place you visited on a holiday? What kind of places have you visited in your life? What place would you like to visit in future? What is the best place you have ever visited? What do you think are the impacts of tourism in your country? Do you think there are also negative impacts of tourism? Are there any hazards attached with tourism? What is your government doing to attract tourists in your country? Or how can a government make a place a tourist attraction? So these were some of the questions that I was asked, and I have written the answers down for these questions. You can get ideas from them for your own speaking test. Now let's read the question and answers. The first question is, do you like to travel? So the answer can be yes, I definitely do. Actually, traveling is one thing I love to do. I have been to many places in my country with my family as a child. Most of those places were the picnic resorts, which were quite popular. In my experience, traveling is a very wonderful experience when you get to meet new people and learn different things about other places and their cultures. So I would say that having fun while learning new things is the reason why I love to travel. Next question. Where was the last place you visited on a holiday? You can answer this question in different ways. You can name any place you visited and you can share your own experience. For myself, I talked about Niagara Falls. What I said was, well, I went to Niagara Falls with my friends last weekend. It is a very popular tourist spot, as we all know. Interestingly, it is located on the borders of US and Canada, though I have been there a couple of times before, but this time it was more enjoyable with my friends. Next question, what kind of places have you visited in your life? This question can also be answered in many ways. You can name any place, you can share your own experience of visiting different places, cities or countries, but you can also answer it this way and you can get ideas from this answer. The answer over here is, well, I would say that mostly I have visited places like popular tourist spots like historical buildings, parks, museums in my own country. I have also been to the northern part of my country that is very different from the urban side. Most of it is mountainous with a lot of natural beauty, majestic mountains and lush green woods. Since now I have moved to Canada, I have been to some places here as well. It's a great place to explore, in my opinion, with so much richness in the landscape. As for some specific resorts, so far I would say that I have visited Casa Loma, which is a historical place in Toronto. I have also visited the Banff National Park and multiple museums and parks in Ontario. Another question was, what is the best place you have ever visited? And here is the answer. Well, to be honest, there is more than one place that is my favorite resort to visit, but I would talk about my latest experience. I recently planned with my family to spend some time at a place called Thousand Islands. It's a group of islands, more than 1,800 islands, I would say, and it's on St. Lawrence River. In my opinion, it's a fantastic destination for someone looking for hiking tracks or historical buildings. We spent 3 days there, and it was a great and memorable experience. Another question that the examiner asked me was, let's talk about tourism. What do you think are the impacts of tourism in your country? Well, the answer is, in my perception, tourism has both positive and negative impacts. Tourism adds to the revenue of a country. It can make a place popular. The local businesses can benefit from tourism as they can sell their products to the tourists and generate income. So in the summer season, when it's busy around the tourist resorts, business growth occurs, definitely. If we speak of the negative aspects of tourism, tourism can create environmental hazards such as pollution, soil erosion due to excessive land use and loss of natural habitat. Besides, an increased number of vehicles, noise levels due to the influx of people disturb the ecological balance. Sometimes prices go high up and make it difficult for locals to buy things at local rates. So these are some of the negative impacts of tourism. Are there any hazards attached with tourism? So this question is pretty much like the previous questions, but you can add more details to it. My answer to this would be yes, in my observation, there is some hazards associated with tourism. There can be security issues for the tourist, as it can be a challenge to ensure proper security or safety measures. Secondly, tourists can be a cultural hazard for the local values. The local people or locals might like to behave or act like foreigners or lose their cultural identity. There are also hazards to the economic aspects of a place that offers seasonal jobs. So when the tourism season ends, local people end up losing their seasonal jobs as well. So these are some of the hazards. The last question, what is your government doing to attract tourists in your country? Or how can a government make a place a tourist attraction? One of the answers can be this. I would say that if the government facilitates the tourists more people would like to visit a place or a country. Some steps can be providing clean cities, assurance of safety, providing or extending amenities in the country, and improving transportation systems. The government allocates some funds each year to the tourist industry to ameliorate tourist resorts in the country. In my opinion, advertising and marketing campaigns can also contribute greatly to attract tourists. In the next slide, I have picked some words from the written answers. If you're not familiar with these words, you can take a look at the words and their meaning on this slide. So urban means related to a city. So if we say urban area, that means an area in a city or a town. Majestic means grand. That has a grand appearance. For example, we can use it when we talk about buildings or mountains or statues. On number 3 is hazards, which means dangers, risks or harms associated with something. Influx means rush of large number of people or things. Ameliorate means making better, improving a situation. Allocates means assigning or distributing for a particular purpose. So if the government is allocating funds, that means it is specifying a certain amount of money for something or some project. Amenities means services, resources, utilities, things considered essential to make life easier, or provision of facilities. For example, if we talk about amenities in our daily life, that would be restaurants, parks, community centers, health clubs, markets to get food, clothing, etc., and all the utilities we enjoy in our daily lives. Lastly, there are some tips on how to respond to IELTS speaking questions. So the first thing is to look confident. You should be looking confident when you talk to the examiner. Then you should be able to use good vocabulary and sentence structure. For example, start each sentence differently and then use conjunctions to join two sentences. Also, make use of phrases like I strongly believe that, in my opinion, I would say that. Start your sentences with these phrases. Next is expand on your answers. Try to answer in detail, even to the simple questions. Not too much detail, but as much as it sounds reasonable. Speak naturally, as if you were talking your native language. Add variations in tone and sentence starters. So as we discussed before, there should be variety in the sentence starters, like I strongly believe that, in my opinion, in my perception, lastly, firstly, finally, words like that. And there should be variations in the tone. So you cannot speak in a monotone or like a robotic tone. You need to speak naturally, and that would add variations in your tone, and it will make your speech sound more natural. That was the end of this video. I hope you have learned from this. I would encourage you to give your feedback in the comment section. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more videos for English learning.